Republican presidential hopefuls will square off tonight in the first debate of the 2024 election season. 8 candidates, which include former Vice President Mike Pence, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, Senator Tim Scott, Governor Doug Burgum, and political newcomer Vivek Ramaswamy.
So the GOP frontrunner, Donald Trump, will not be on the stage tonight, but he is still leading the candidates, right? He's stealing the spotlight from his contenders when you look at the poll numbers. Joining us this morning with a preview of how this is all expected to play out, GOP political strategist Chapin Fay. Good to see you, Chapin, in person, right?
Yes.
So this is a very interesting event tonight, right? Because the debate is happening while there's also an arraignment tomorrow for a former president, right? So there's so much happening in the political world. But the fact that the former president said, I'm not doing this debate or any debate, what does that say?
It says he has such a tremendous lead that he doesn't really need to do the debates. And as you mentioned, he has an uncanny ability to steal the spotlight, even when he's not there. And, you know, the even bigger news when it comes to Trump and the bad news for the candidates that are going to be on stage tonight is they're all looking to have their moment, right? But then tomorrow morning, Trump is being arrested or arraigned again. So all the news tomorrow is going to be that.
Right.
And it's going to be almost impossible for one of them to break through more than, you know, tonight's news cycle after everyone's gone to sleep. So it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to really break through in this particular debate.
You know, I don't think anybody thinks it's going to hurt Trump's numbers at all, but is this a missed opportunity for him to not be there?
You know, if I was advising him, you know, I might be saying there's nothing good that can come from you being on this debate stage. You already have a lead that's bigger than all the other candidates combined, and it's only an opportunity to make a mistake. Now, President Trump, I think we know, would look at that advisor and say, well, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, right? But, you know, I think it cuts both ways, but I think, you know, anyone with that big of a lead, you know, really has the option not to do the debates, though it does set the precedent. We've read, maybe you were about to say that, I've read that maybe President Biden will do the same thing.
That's what I was just going to say. Are you setting a precedent of if I have a lead, I owe nothing to the folks that maybe I want to win over still? Because the whole point of the debate is to lay out your agenda and also win over some new voters, right? And so that's what's happening tonight. You mentioned some of these candidates looking to break through. Look at who the number 2 is, right? Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He has 12% in the recent polls, right? So it's far behind Donald Trump. What does somebody like a DeSantis need to do to get those numbers up? And is it going after Trump?
Well, he sort of backed himself into an interesting corner. He, you know, before he announced and during the announcement, was sort of running as sort of the, you know, a better version of Trump or an anti-Trump or something like that. And then it kind of got nasty between the two of them, and his numbers haven't really moved up. And then you're going to be on stage with Chris Christie, who's sort of made his whole campaign being about, you know, we need to prosecute Trump.
And his did go up.
Anti-Trump. Yeah. But how does Governor DeSantis, you know, sort of differentiate himself from the guy who's based his whole campaign on that and is doing a good job at it? I don't, you know, I don't think there's a path for him that way, but he's doing a good job at that. And maybe he could consolidate all the never Trump votes in the Republican Party. There's just not enough of them. So I really think one of the real you know, purposes of this for a lot of these candidates is sort of the VP sweepstakes, right? You know, they have to get up, talk about their policy, you know, show their policy chops. They have to take some digs at the other candidates, and they have to look like an adult in the room. And I think some of the other candidates like Tim Scott and Nikki Haley, I think that's what they're going to be doing, right? I think they're going to be a little softer on Trump, maybe more aggressive to some of the things that the other candidates like Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis say. I think Ron is going to be a target just because, you know, the numbers, you know, don't lie. And Vivek. You know, there was a poll that just came out that had him, you know, creeping up on DeSantis. So they all really need a moment. I think Vivek is the one who's most likely to have a moment because he seems less restrained by, you know, the normal rules of politics and what to say, what not to say.
Here.
So what do you think he needs to do then tonight to really get out of that gate and push up?
A lot of people have heard of him now because he's been all over the place, but they don't really know him. I think he, in particular, since he doesn't come from politics, he needs to show that he's got the policy chops, that he knows what he's talking about, that he has the ability to be president on day one. That's what he has to do. I don't think he needs to be very aggressive against the other candidates or Trump. He has some interesting ideas. I think he needs to promote those and his background, because I don't think people really know him as well as they maybe know Chris Christie, who's been doing this for a while.
Well, I think that tonight it really should be focused on policy. Correct me if I'm wrong here, because I feel like so much of this cycle has been about former President Trump and his arraignments that you don't really know where these candidates stand on some of the issues. A lot of them are on the same playing field in terms of where they stand on certain issues like crime and bail reform, health care. They kind of are all on the same even playing field. It's just how do you separate yourselves?
Well, that's always the problem in sort of in a party primary, right? Because they're not going to be all that varying on the issue spectrum, right? Like a Democrat versus Republican would be. So it has been about biography. It has been about taking shots at each other. It has been about sound bites. I think that will continue to be the case, though you will see some talking about policy chops. I think like Senator Tim Scott, right? He's a sitting senator. He's got something to talk about policy-wise.
Is the next vice president on that stage?
You know, the problem the problem with the Trump era politics is you just never know. I think it's possible. I think there are some strong candidates up there, even though the numbers, for president don't show it. There are strong candidates with real records of success on the stage. I think there are a few we can eliminate from contention for VP, like Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie. But the others, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, even Vivek, I mean, they're going to be, they're doing, and again, cabinet positions as well. I mean, this is sort of, this is their entry into, into that. I think the race will start to take a little bit more shape after tonight.
Yeah, we'll grab the popcorn. It's going to be an interesting show tonight. Thanks so much for coming in, Chapin. It's great to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Good to see you.